What's up, everybody? So Street Fighter 6 is raising the bar in fighting game content in terms of what you can do in the fighting game outside of the fighting. Although the fighting in a fighting game is the most integral part of the genre, the most integral part of the game, it is seldom what fighting games are actually judged on by the mainstream. And usually, 90% of the time, that is very unfair. With Capcom fighting games, more often than not, it's completely fair. Which is why this whole situation with Street Fighter 6 is crazy, because Capcom with Street Fighter and Marvel willingly went against the flow of progress for a very long time, whilst other fighting games moved away from just giving us an arcade game at home. With Capcom, it felt as though they were doubling down on just giving you a fighting game, that's it. They've been willing to give you less than pretty much all other fighting games, then charge you for more. Street Fighter 4 has 3 updates that you have to pay for if you wanted to keep playing online. Marvel 3 did the same thing only 7 months after its release. Street Fighter Cross Tekken coined the term disc-locked content. Aside from just preferring the gameplay of Tekken 5 over Street Fighter 4, the comparison between the content of both games is just laughable. Tekken 5 wins without question, and it's on an earlier console generation. Street Fighter 6 is clearly not going to repeat the same mistakes. We've gotten a look at the full-on character creator. Its depth will clearly rival that of Soul Calibur. I would say it even rivals that of a Soulsborne style game. And it'll look better too because it's in the RE engine. Your character will also meet and learn moves from the Street Fighter 6 cast. Speaking of those characters, they're all clearly getting more moves, and there's the addition of several universal mechanics. What I've been saying Street Fighter should have always done, because it was always great to see Tekken just continue to build upon itself, while Street Fighter kept trying to reinvent the wheel. It's especially tough when your first Street Fighter is new generation, which had a rough go in arcades, and thus Capcom tried to move away from it. I'll admit the absence of Street Fighter 3 characters and mechanics in Street Fighter 4 does affect my outlook on that game. The fact that Street Fighter 6 is building on everything we've seen in Street Fighter till now is actually what has me most excited. I was honestly expecting this game to be revealed and have the same issues as past Capcom games, not only lacking content, but also having malicious, money-stealing schemes attached to it. For years, non-fighting game players and obnoxious YouTube reviewers posing as casual players. I say posing because you have to play a fighting game casual to be considered a casual player, not play through arcade mode once and then make a review out of it. They were spearheading the idea that the FGC are the problem, and that's why fighting games are quote-unquote having less content. FGC bad, all caveman, bang buttons, no need content, just need sick plays. Will pay full price for mediocrity, I think I heard thrown around once. They've gotten away with asking if fighting games are worth their price point without actually being able to elaborate or explain how fighting games work, having zero appreciation or even an idea for the depth of play at all levels regardless of skill. They don't have a single player game where their character can do more than what a Tekken character can do, but go off, I guess. The content they claim isn't there in a fighting game lies in the mechanical depth of the fighting game. But not for them, they can't complain about what they don't understand without looking stupid, so the reviews never amount to more than complaining about the lack of single-player content. You know they're full of it because every once in a while they slip up, they don't stay in their own lane, they'll pick a fighting game that doesn't have Capcom's problems attached to it. A friendly reminder in accordance to the depth of their gameplay, most if not all non-Capcom fighting games give you more than enough content, especially in the 2010s. So they either A, don't talk about the other fighting games, or B, they'll bring them up and they'll call a knowledge check broken, or they say something that is factually wrong about the fighting game in question in their review. But this is really a discussion for another video. I can't wait to have it. The point is, it was real easy for a cynical reviewer to get his rant on and get his non-fighting game playing audience uproaring when Street Fighter 4 has like an arcade mode and that's it. And it's like the most viewed, the most entrants at major tournaments. You know, it's the spearhead game of the FGC. So yeah, and it was way easier to comment on what Street Fighter didn't have instead of how it plays. What's it matter how it plays? To these people, the best fighting game ever couldn't ask $60 for not having a bunch of extra single player stuff. I find that to be BS within itself, but that's just my opinion. Meanwhile, a game like Tekken 6 or Tekken Tag 2, they don't even mention, they don't give a review, they don't talk about, and if they do, they say wrong stuff about it, because content quantity wise, there's nothing to complain about. And again, they know very little about the actual fighting game. In fact, Tekken before Tekken 7 was going above and beyond. In certain ways, Tekken 7 did go above and beyond, but Tekken 7 technically, like in terms of content quantity, is one of the lightest Tekkens we've gotten in a while. Like, you could make an argument Tekken 5 has more content than Tekken 7. In a way. Like, you know, people came out and they were like, where's Team Battle Mode? And all the customization options. And, oh, the story sucks. And I'm just sitting here like, only the narrative storytelling for Tekken 7 sucks. The story is more fun than NetherRealm story modes. NetherRealm just has better writing. Slightly. Tekken 7 has more interesting fights. Meanwhile, these reviewers, no comment on the new juggle extension, no comment on the power crush system, rage mechanics. No, I'm not surprised. One of the best playing Tekken games, and the complaints are on what's not there. Or saying rage arts are overpowered when they're minus 20. Unbelievable. Street Fighter 6 appears to be putting everything in place possible to assure this does not happen. Someone at Capcom said, no, not this time. This team working on Street Fighter said, not only are we going to give you this granular Street Fighter that looks fantastic and builds upon everything mechanically you've seen in the series, guys, you don't really understand, like, if you haven't played it yet, it really does have a spiritual successor of the parry, the alpha counter, and the focus attack, and they're all available as options for you as long as you have the gauge for it. Not only do the characters all have more options with move lists like that of Tekken in its golden era of 3 through 5 on the PlayStation 2, well, 1 into 2, they decided to put in all that fluffy fighting game stuff that games used to have back then. There's a Street Fighter Ball mode, for Christ's sake. This was back when they had to sell a game by proving how much they could put into it. Capcom skipped that era of pushing limits and putting in as much as possible, and now it feels like they're overcompensating for it. In a good way, in a great way. A character creator? Like, outside of Soul Calibur, I never would have saw that for Street Fighter. There's a beat 'em up mode, and you explore the city and potentially the whole world as your creative character. Did anyone else see this coming? Like, again, I didn't. The point I'm trying to make is Street Fighter might just force a new standard for fighting games. Street Fighter is the original fighting game series, also the most well-known, and it makes you question, is this Street Fighter going to have more content, more replay, single-player value than the next NRS fighter? I doubt it, but I don't know. It's a possibility. Before, it would have been a hard no. The next Street Fighter will not have more content than MK or Tekken. Have you seen every Mortal Kombat since 4, every Tekken since 3, throwing in everything they possibly could? At a certain point, it felt like they were out of ideas. Compare the characters from Tekken 6 to the characters from Tekken 5 and back. Now it seems Street Fighter might be the fighting game to beat for content. Makes me curious what Tekken 8 or the next NRS game are going to have. Can't wait for this era of fighting games having all the bells and whistles. Can't wait to see these reviewers try to get away from saying it's bad or the fighting games aren't fun, whilst we're all having fun using the spinning bird kick to get from point A to point B. Let me know what you think about Street Fighter having all this extra content for once. Feel free to like and subscribe for more fighting game content. See you guys next time.